Account Recruiting Podcast. I'm Coach Tom Coons along with Coach Chad Porter and Coach Jeff Wagner. And we're here to give you some insight on all phases of baseball, softball, recruiting, and things like that. We're going to start out with Jeff tonight to tip it off and we'll follow in. And feel free, you can also, if you're watching live, you can type your comments in, and we'll get to answer those right on here as we're going. But Jeff, go ahead. Give them our topic that we're going to go with tonight.
What's up, guys? How are you? How's the heat where you're at? It's been pretty hot here. I know that for sure.
Oh yeah.
This time of the year, the players have to really make sure the nutrition and staying out with their workouts, because this is when guys can start getting hurt or they're not keeping up. We started actually with summer ball, guys working out a little bit more and staying not playing as much to work on their bodies, and I think a lot of times guys don't do that enough at a young age to get themselves ready for the next level. Um, but I think tonight would be a good night just to kind of go over a little bit of everything, and then we can really kind of go into recruiting process and how to get exposure at this time of the year, which is a very tricky time, because schools are starting up, programs and coaches are worried about their own players that they recruited are coming in. They can't do official visits yet, and which official visits is basically when a school can have a player and his parents come in and they can pay for everything. You're allowed one official visit per player. You're allowed to take one per school, and you're allowed as a player to have 5 official visits. So it's a really tricky time, obviously, and a lot of kids are playing different sports, and it's hard to get that notice. But I will say that, again, we've talked about in the past, showcases are starting to come up in the fall, in the wintertime. So those are obviously really good ways of going in and being able to go into a place and actually talk to the coaches and instead of just being recruited at a game, they can be around them. I think other ways that to really start, is trying to see where you fit in that program. What are their needs are? What's their roster look like? Now you got to deal with the transfer portal, so that roster is going to keep changing all summer. And with the draft, seniors, and the transfer portal, that roster is going to change a lot. And this is a kind of a time to start identifying schools that might fit, where you need to play. Your analytics go together with this. You can put your analytics. You can look and see if you're a good fit with kids that they've recruited in the past, what their needs are, and then you can start targeting programs that might be a good fit for you academically and from the baseball end.
Yeah, I think a good point you mentioned is the transfer portal. I had not looked at the number that are still in there that are still looking, but there are still quite a few kids in there, players, both male, female, on both ends, that are looking, thinking that there was something else out there that may end up having to go back to their school where they were at. And Chad or Jeff, either one, explain what happens if you enter the transfer portal and you were a scholarship player. Nothing is out there for you, and you end up going back to your same school. Does the school now honor that scholarship? Are you still scholarshiped? Are you coming in as another player who has to get a scholarship at that point, or what happens there?
I'll say a few things about that. I'm talking to some coaches that had kids that entered the transfer portal and then they wanted to go back to the school, and a lot of those head coaches said no. Once you leave, we're not bringing you back in.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
you
yeah.
do not get the same scholarship once you leave. And obviously, if a player is leaving my program, I'm going to go look for another player to fit that role. So it's really hard to go back to programs once you leave.
Unless it's an academic issue with like a major or a family issue, that's totally understandable. I'm with Jeff. I mean, you want out. We're gonna, most of these coaches are gonna let you out, and you're not coming back. You're not, the whole scholarship, because you got to understand, kids have to understand, and this goes back to them having so many choices. You got to understand that, there's a business end of this, and there's also a cultural end of it.
Right.
And if kids want out of the program for whatever reason, if they think the grass is greener on the other side, then all of a sudden you come back. I mean, you're going to have to earn your way back or whatever that coach wants. But the other thing I was going to say is, if you're looking for a place this fall, don't give up. I know, from the Division II level, and I think it's changed probably in Division I as well, because the draft has been recent and the transfer portal. Like, as a coach, I signed some really, really good kids late who were under the radar, or an offer went bad, or there was a coaching change at a school. Whatever it is, don't give up. There's programs out there looking. However, you can't be picky as you could have been back obviously in the early spring and winter. So don't give up. Somebody, if you can play a little bit, keep going. Somebody can use you.
Well, that's a good point. I think you still got to keep beating the bushes here. Transfer portal is a crapshoot. It really is. You're going to hope somebody takes a chance on you if you enter it, because there's no guarantee when you come back. The other thing that you mentioned, the draft plays a huge part in this. I think, and don't quote me, but I think, let's take the Vanderbilts of the world. I think there were 3 commits to Vanderbilt that were drafted out of high school. So now those 3 kids, do they sign? I mean, they were up in the earlier rounds. Do they sign and become millionaires and take a chance in the pros, or do they fulfill their commitment and continue on? If they go to the pros, then Vandy or schools like that are looking for more players then. And I think that's a big issue. I mean, Jeff, you as you coached major, you coached mid-major. There's always room to commit.
Yeah, there's no question. I think, the problem right now is kids when they handle adversity, they have to go in and beat a senior out or junior out, and it doesn't work their way. They want to leave. But I've said this before, those are the things that make you a better baseball player, and no matter where you go, you're going to have to battle for a position. And if you get lucky enough to play pro ball, like you said, then you're always going to have a new draft and new guys coming through an organization. So, you better be sure when you jump in there. And, if it's because you're getting beat out, well, then you're going to have to get better. And you're going to have to find a way to win a job sometimes. And that's going to help you more than just baseball. It's going to help you in life.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest thing is your academics, and making sure that you chose that school because they're academics and baseball, and that that you're fulfilling that you're on track with your grades, and stay with it. Sometimes that's the best thing to do, and it hurts. It's not going to be easy when you're not winning a job, but if you find a way to get better and you keep working, that's going to make you a better person and better player.
Right. And Chad, you had mentioned the academic part. It's being a huge thing there.
Pure. Yeah, and that's another thing as you plan. The underclassmen, your rising juniors, rising seniors, or whatever. Anybody that's not enrolling somewhere this coming fall, now is a great opportunity to get signed up for your ACT, SAT. Make sure you and your parents are meeting with your guidance counselors at your high school, making sure you're in classes that are going to count with the NCAA Eligibility Center. Those are all important, right? And for me, being my whole career, I spent 20 years at the Division II level. Compliance staffs aren't the biggest. So we found a way, and we got on the NCAA Eligibility Center and figured out. We were pretty much right all the time. We figured out how, we could, and it's not that hard. We could look at a kid's transcript and see if those classes are going to transfer, or are going to be counted as core courses. All that stuff right now is important, because if you make a mistake, you can fix it right now. You
Right.
can't fix it the August that you're going to enroll. And, that's important. The other thing, the thought I had about recruiting was, and I don't know what the start date is in Division I, but in Division II, January 10th or the first day of class is when you could start regular practice. I know Division I is different, obviously, but our philosophy was all the way January 10th every year.
Right.
Trying to find people because there's kids out there, and I'll tell you who I got that from. Coach Wagner was Ryan Leach's dad. When he was at Salem International, he said that one time. I'm like, that's a great philosophy. The other thing is the great Cal Bailey tell me all the time when he would call me Chadwick. The great coach from West Virginia State, legendary coach, used to say, "Hey, you don't go to school to play baseball. You go to school and play baseball." And that's really, really important. So get your academics in line. Life is a lot easier. Whether you're a transfer at the Division II level, we recruit, especially when I coached at Texas A&M International, we recruited a ton of junior college kids, right? And to be honest with you, there were years where you got a kid that you really liked. He needed a class to transfer. Things have changed a little bit, but they're in these classes all the way till the last minute trying to get them to get that in. And I know, Coach Wagner, you've probably been in that situation before too. And you're like, how's your class? How's your class? How's your class? Coach, I'm getting a B. I'm getting a B. And every once in a while, that B is actually an F. And the kid ends up ineligible. We've all been burnt before. If you're a college baseball coach, you've been burnt academically before. And it's tough. Get it in line and make it a lot easier. You're a lot more attractive when you're not an academic red flag.
And I think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff or Chad, the way colleges and schools are today, they are there to help you succeed. There are so many different things that are put into place now to help you with your academics that, I know I didn't have when I was in school. I mean, we used to go play teams in the first semester, and you'd go second semester when spring season started, and it'd be an entirely different group because the group at first semester didn't make it academically. If you want to succeed, there's help for you there to succeed. And I don't think you see a lot of the academic issues that you used to see. Transfer portal. I don't. What do you guys think? If there's a 3,000 kids in the transfer portal, how many are there because of academics? What percentage?
It's very low.
Yeah, and what's the percentage that are there for playing time?
Very high.
Very high. I mean, you take that. Let's jump softball for a second. That pitcher that was at Oklahoma. Now we all know Oklahoma's program. When they go 950 in one, they lost one game. She was one of the top pitchers in the country, if not the top. She went in the portal and is going back to her home state to be closer to home. Well, that's a different scenario, but it comes down to, like you're saying, playing time. Some guys come in there and think, well, I'm better than this one, or you're getting told those outside influences, Oh, yeah, you should be playing ahead of this guy. There's no question. Well, you give it a shot. Now you see guys. Go ahead.
It goes back to then, and a lot of people aren't going to like me to say this, but it goes back to the zoo tiger versus the jungle tiger mentality, right? The zoo tigers are, in that cage, everything's good. The jungle tigers, they're fighters, they're grinders, right? And we got a lot of zoo tigers.
Right.
We coach a lot of zoo tigers. I mean, we really do. I'm not saying that I wasn't a zoo tiger. Every kid at some point does that, but the whole adage of pressure makes diamonds. Look, if you have a kid with a little bit of a mentality that's willing to work, and there's competition, there are kids who elevate their game, which elevates your team, and you want guys on your team. College coaches want guys on their team. That it's like I asked the question. I'm sure Coach Wagner has too. Would you rather be a role player on a winning team or the best player on a losing team?
Right.
Decision for me. Probably easy decision for you too. I want to win.
Well, Chad, I just talked to a Power 5 college head coach, and he said we just lost a really good player to the portal. He All-American, put up big numbers, and he said, I think our team's better because we lost him, because of the team chemistry.
And I'll bet there's a lot more coaches that would say that if they could.
Yep.
Because you'd be amazed. You get to a certain status level or something. There's no reason to be outworked out there. And some of them just start to coast and think it's going to happen. And then they've got the insurance policy, that transfer portal.
We've said this before. And I'm sure both of you and all of our friends in the coaching world say the same thing. You cannot like this game, play college baseball. You gotta love it. And a lot of people, because of the situation I was in, ended up in I'm coaching in high school now, which is great, right? The school I was at closed. What's the difference? I said, I coach a bunch of guys that like baseball. I used to coach a bunch of guys that loved it. And those guys love, most of the guys love it. Most of the guys love it in college baseball. And the other part is, and I'm kind of shifting back to academics, but when you do go on these visits, especially if you're at small schools, your D2s, even your small Division Ones may not have tons and tons of staff in the academic and compliance. Check out what the coach is doing academically. Are they doing grade report stuff? Are they super tough on class attendance? I was. I'm sure, Coach, you were. Both of you guys.
Yeah.
Are you doing study sessions? Are you rewarding for good grades? All that stuff. But that goes back into the job thing, and I don't want it's not a job, but when you're going into a 5:30 a.m. lift, maybe you have early work at 2, a team practice till dinner, and another study session later in the day, and you got to love it. And that's what kids got to understand, because we've all coached kids that get there the first day, the first week, and this isn't what I thought it was. Well, why not? I mean, we lifted this morning. We practiced for 3 hours this afternoon, and then I had to do academic stuff. And it's like, well, this is also practice for life. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to get up in the morning. You're going to have to run your kids from here to there. You're going to have to make big decisions. You're going to have to do all that stuff. This mimics life, and it's the hardest game in the world to do it. You got to put the work in.
Right. Jeff?
I want to go back to our early, we talked about recruiting this time of the year and how to be seen. And I think right now, this is a great time for a athlete to kind of look at what the rosters are really going to be like. Early in the summer, like we talked about, they're going to change a lot with portal, the draft, graduation. Right now, they can kind of look at programs of what their rosters are going to be, and then start targeting programs that you feel like you can play at. And you can start looking at your analytics compared to analytics that they recruited. And now you can start looking at their rosters to see if you might be a fit there. To me, this is a good time. Summer's winding down, that I can kind of evaluate programs that might be a good fit and getting help from guys like us. I mean, this is a hard time right now in college athletics. You're going to need some help to navigate all this. And this is a time that we can come in and say, okay, these are programs right now that might be a fit, from an honest evaluation to what the needs might be from the program, what they brought in academically, financially, all that stuff. This, to me, is a good time to start thinking about that and really start putting yourself in a situation by working at this and what I need to get to at what level to play at that program. And I think this is a good time to start really looking at these programs. And I feel like they can start gaining that edge right now by doing that. And again, we talked about official visits, but you can go to a program and take as many officials as you want. You can start going around campuses. You start targeting 8 to 10 schools and then take unofficial visits and go there and see if that's the place you want to go. And then you can start trying to identify with these coaches, am I a good fit for your program? Get the honest answer. And then you could use sources like us that can go in there and really help them kind of navigate that and have conversations with these head coaches to see where they might fit.
Right, and I think that's a big thing. We talked about the official visits,
Yeah.
unofficial. You go anytime you want
Right.
on your dime.
Yep.
You go, and you got to figure you're investing in you or your son or your daughter's future. Why not take a road trip and do that?
Yeah.
And I think the other big thing is that's why we have this company, Ahead and Account Recruiting. There's a lot of companies out there, and you can invest a lot of money and do this stuff. And as former coaches and the coaches that we know throughout the country, we're doing this to help kids. I know when I'm helping a kid, I'm working with a kid in the Midwest, and I'm looking at it like I'm recruiting him for a school. And I think we got, and it's working out very well. But that's the difference, I think, that separates what we're doing from some of the other bigger companies. We're charging a lot less for what we're doing, and we're not watering anything down. We're still doing the same stuff. And B, we're doing it from a sincere coaching point because we've all been there. And let's face it, recruiting's a hard job for a coach or for a parent or a kid or trying to find. We're here to help alleviate some of that pressure. Chad?
Yeah, we've been there. I think probably between the three of us, you're pushing 60, 70 years, at the college level, and a
Just
lot of contacts.
Just don't start saying ages now. All right, I don't want.
No ages,
All right,
but a lot of contacts in between, and it's really weird, in baseball, and I'm sure it's in other things, but you're like 1 degree off of high up in the game. If you've been around a long time, this guy, this scout, this coach, this person, heck, this guy that is really good at relationships. I mean, the bottom line is, we've been out there and beating the bushes, and we can help kids, and that's what it's about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's more than just getting a kid committed. It's about being successful. I just had a player that I just got committed at Division I level, and I spent an hour and a half in the cages with him today. I didn't have to do that. And the same kid was on these other recruiting services paying a ton of money, and they didn't really do anything but send emails out. And yes, emails are important. They can be important, but it's the knowledge and the networking that we've had for so long in this field that we're able to reach out to the guys that make a difference and that we can give an honest evaluation. And then I'm a big part of helping them with their development, whether it's sending a workout off season, in season, helping them financially with the moves they need to make with student loans and FAFSA, and helping them with scholarship offers and I think the big thing is how much money people are spending right now on showcases and tournaments and helping them navigate which ones to go to, and that this would be a good fit and saving them money. But to me, there's nothing more important and exciting, being in college baseball at a high level for 25 years. Now, this is so much fun watching a kid recruited, that you recruited, you're on with, and then he gets signed by a school, and now you're a part of his future. Like I tell kids, you don't bring you on and get you committed, and then we don't talk for the next 4 years. You got all access to me to call me anytime during this to help you, whether it's with a coach, whether it's playing time, whether decisions you have the whole time during school. I'm there to help you.
See, and I think that's what separates our company from a lot of the other ones.
Yep.
Their goal is to get you to a school. Our goal is to get you to a school, but then through a school.
Well, I'm gonna go farther than that, Tom. These bigger companies are just getting a bunch of kids. They don't care if kids get signed or not. I'm going to take pride, and so far, and I'm going to stay with this. That's why I'm not taking on a whole bunch of kids of 100%. I want all my kids to get an opportunity to play.
Exactly.
And that's, to me, means everything.
That's a good spot right there to end this. Chad, any final thoughts?
You guys have said it. You guys hit the nail on the head. So, look. Hey, you need help? Get with us. Our website's right there under Tom. We're all on Twitter, and we're here for you.
Jeff, anything closing?
Excited about the future of what we're doing, and really enjoyed the last few months of helping kids find schools, and I can't wait to get more kids opportunities to play at the next level.
I agree. I think it's going to be a tremendous thing, and we're here to help you. AheadinAccountRecruiting.com. Go on there, fill out that questionnaire. We'll get back to you and see what we can do to help you be successful. Watch for us next week. We'll have another topic and try to get some other guests on here to talk about different phases of the game. Nice seeing you.